Placing multiple graphics in InDesign. So in InDesign, we use a place command, and we locate that under the File menu and Place. So when we use the place command, this is basically the command that we would utilize for placing graphics into an InDesign layout. And I can either import a single image, or I can import multiple graphics simultaneously, and this offers a huge time saving with importing these pictures. So I can either control click the ones I want, or I can shift click and achieve all of those. So then if I click open, one other note here, I can choose to show my import options. These are basic images, so there's really no need to do that. When I get into importing Photoshop files, Illustrator files, or maybe a file that has a saved clipping mask or an alpha channel, then I maybe would want to see those import options. But for these simple basic bitmap graphics, I really don't need to do that. So I click open, and here I will get what's called my loaded icon, or as InDesign calls it, the place gun. So the place gun will show a thumbnail of the current loaded image. And I also see a small number on a white background that indicates how many total images are loaded. So I can utilize my left and right arrow keys to navigate through the images. So a number of different methods or ways that I can actually click to place the graphic. So probably the easiest way is to just place my graphic with its actual size, and that would just be to click the cursor. So when I click the cursor on the page, what happens is it places the graphic, it creates the frame that then that graphic is in, and it's the same size as the artwork, default placed at 100%. So that's one way that I can utilize this. Another way that I can do this, I'm gonna go ahead and start over here, deleting this. If I already had a layout chosen, and remember I can click and drag, and when I utilize my arrow keys of either up and or right as I'm dragging, this allows me to make multiple frames. Okay, so with nothing selected, I'm going to go back to File and Place, and let's just grab a couple of these images. Click Open. Again, I have my loaded gun or my loaded cursor, and you can see there's a number 2 in parentheses on the white background indicating I have 2 images. So now I can place this graphic into one of these existing frames. Now note, if I had something in one of these frames previously, then the newly placed graphic would be resized or have the attributes of whatever was in there before. So it picks up, it remembers those. The frame remembers those settings. So then I can just click on a frame and it will be placed inside. Okay, let's try this one more time. I'm going to do a File and Place and select 2 more here. Click Open. So the third way that I can do a place of a graphic is actually to drag my cursor to define the size of the frame. So if I want a frame that looks like this, and you can see it's sort of snapping to the proportions here. And so that allows me then to create a frame customized. Okay? So that's how I can utilize placing my graphics. How about fitting them? So this is a really important feature. I'm going to go ahead and place the other image here, even though I'm running off the page. That's all right. So these are fitted correctly. They look proportional. I've not distorted them. Now what about these 2 up here? And let's just zoom into those so we can take a look at these a bit closer. So obviously my graphics do not fit in the frame. So I have to do one of a number of things. And InDesign offers us a number of fitting options. So when I select my frame, I can go under my object menu and go to fitting and choose how I would like to fit my graphic. So I can fit this with my content proportionally, or I can fill the frame proportionally. These two are the most common. I can also fit the frame to content, so this would resize the frame to the graphic. I can fit the content to the frame, so this would fit obviously the content to the frame. Now we're going to get a lot of distortions happening if you choose those options. I can also center the content, which obviously centers the graphic, which is in the frame. There are also some options here for clearing the frame options, the frame fitting options, and some other specifications, and these actually are helpful if I don't have any frames selected. If I have 0 things selected and I go to this frame fitting options right here, this last one, I'm allowed to then set up frame fitting options for my entire document, which can again be a huge time saving if you're importing maybe 20 recipients for a poster. Instead of having to go and click on each one, you could set them so that in the entire document, every time you bring a picture in, it fits that frame in the way you specified. Now, if I did this without any documents open, I can get to this setting without any documents, and what I would do then is I would end up changing my default. So any or all frames in any and all future documents would then be set up that way. So some time savers if you think ahead. Now let's go back up to the first two, the fill frame proportionally and the fit content proportionally. So the fit content proportionally, and I still notice have this graphic or this frame selected, fit content proportionally will proportionally resize to the frame. And so my graphic is scaled to fill the entire frame. So let's do that. What happens is I can see all of my graphic, but I end up with these empty spaces, in which case might not be the effect that I'm looking for. Now let's click on the second box here. I can also get to those frame fitting options by right-clicking, which I just did. And now this time let's fill the frame proportionally. This one will resize, and it will fill my entire frame. It does not distort my graphic, however it fills it. So my graphic is scaled so that the entire graphic is visible, but it's not distorting it. So I am running off. If I go to my direct selection tool and click, you can see with that kind of goldish brown frame that's actually the size of my picture. And if I just nudge this over with my arrow keys here, you can see that I can then rearrange this. So if I wanted to do the same thing over here, I'm going to select my frame, right click, fitting, and that choice was fill the frame proportionally, and there we go. So then I can always go ahead and edit and manipulate if I wanted this to be repositioned in a different location. So those are the fitting options. So now we know how to place graphics and then how to fit them. Remember, it is sort of a graphic design sin to distort your pictures. You don't want to skew them in any way, shape, or form, especially if you're dealing with people.